Hey guys, I just wanted to clarify an error I made in my last Fallout video. I was so quick to release the video that I didn't double check my information, and it resulted in a little bit of backlash in the comment section. I should have done the proper research before writing my last script, and I promise that I will do better in the future, because I want to make videos that are enjoyable and that people will continue to watch in the future. With that being said, in this video I'm going to be as accurate as possible, as there's a lot of mixed stories as to how Fallout came to be. I tried to pick something that was as solid as possible, but I might get something wrong here and there. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the history of Fallout New Vegas and why you should play it in 2024. Fallout New Vegas is one of my favorite Fallout games, not only because of its story, but because of the memorable dialogue options you are offered throughout the game. This is something that many people believe the new games lack, as the dialogue options in Fallout 4 were heavily criticized for being very vague and having boring choices that didn't really offer that much to the eventual outcome. In today's video, we're also going to cover the history, the development, the release, the reception, and the plot of the story, and the aftermath, and then we're going to wrap it up with my final thoughts. I'm going to be as accurate as possible, like I said before. There are a lot of conflicting stories, and I tried to pick the best one. If you enjoy this video, please subscribe and comment down below your thoughts on Fallout New Vegas. Let's get into it. The idea for this video was actually provided by a viewer. His name is Dark Hood Order of Grey 6354. I just want to give him credit because he was extremely helpful in giving me some of the history behind the Fallout series, stuff I honestly never knew. So I'm just giving him the credit he deserves because he honestly helped me out a lot in the comment section of my last video. So, to start with, the series was originally created by Interplay Entertainment, and they were the creative minds behind the birth of the franchise. A lot of the staff eventually had moved to the other side studio that they own under the same umbrella called Black Isle Entertainment. They have often been credited with the creation of the Fallout franchise, but that's not the case. They did, however, create Baldur's Gate, which I thought was kinda cool. This studio was run by the same key members of Interplay. They would eventually create Fallout 2. 5 years after the creation of Fallout 2, Interplay would run into financial troubles, and Fergus Urquhart would leave and bring many key developers with him to create Obsidian Entertainment, and they would go on to create successful games, one of them being Outer Worlds. The financial troubles were so bad that Interplay had to close Black Isle Studio, which led to the cancellation of all of their major products, including what would have been Fallout 3. Interplay would then sell the license to Bethesda for a little over $1 million, and then Bethesda would create Fallout 3. They sold the license in hopes that they would breathe new life into the franchise, and because they were in severe financial debt. These financial troubles would never really end for Interplay, as they sold off all of their IPs to various companies. The CEO would leave and create his own company called In Exile Games, and the company has seemed to have faded from existence, unable to keep up with the transfer to console gaming. Now, flash forward to 2008, Bethesda reached out to Obsidian to create another Fallout game because they were busy with Skyrim and they didn't have the manpower to be able to make a sequel to the Fallout series. It's also speculated that they made this move because of the criticism from Fallout 3, and they wanted to bring Obsidian on because of their experience with the previous games. The general consensus was that Obsidian would work on the West Coast games and Bethesda would stick to the East Coast. So, because of this, Obsidian made a deal with Bethesda, and the development on Fallout New Vegas started. Obsidian wanted New Vegas to set place in the Mojave Desert and allow players different options on how the ending of the game would go. They always wanted the chance to work on another Fallout game, but we'll talk about how this worked in the aftermath section of the video. The origins of Fallout New Vegas dates back to the cancellation of Fallout Van Buren, when Bethesda bought the IP in 2007. Bethesda, after Fallout 3, originally wanted to make New Vegas a DLC pack for Fallout 3, but Todd Howard had suggested that they make it a fully fleshed out game, and suggested that Obsidian Entertainment work on it because of their experience with working with Fallout 2. They were originally pitched to make a Star Wars game, but Obsidian denied the pitch, but agreed to work on the Fallout game. Now, one of the requirements Bethesda had when they asked Obsidian to take over on the spin-off game was that they wanted the game to take place on the west coast of the United States, and Obsidian didn't have a problem with that because that would give them the chance to follow up on some of the concepts that they introduced in Fallout 2, such as the NCR. Obsidian had a lot of great ideas when it came to the story for the game. One of the cool ideas that they never actually were able to implement was they wanted the players to be able to choose what to play as. So they would have given you the option to play as a human, ghoul, or a super mutant. But this was later rejected because of the technical limitations of the hardware at the time, and it was hard to make that option fit into the story. Obsidian originally wanted the game to take place in between Fallout 2 and Fallout 3, but Bethesda demanded that the stories take place in chronological order. The game director, Josh Sawyer, wanted the game's themes to focus on greed and excess. As a result, the game would take place in Las Vegas because of its ties to organized crime. The game was originally going to be called Fallout Sin City before it had the change to Fallout New Vegas. Sawyer also wanted to avoid the Jesus Hitler aspect with the NCR and Sieger's Legion because he wanted a sense of moral ambiguity. Now, the game design was completely unchanged from Fallout 3. Obsidian wanted to focus more on giving players more options during combat. Optional mechanics were added like crafting and scavenging to give players the sense of survival out in the desert. Now, for the game engine, Bethesda had provided Obsidian with Gamebryo engine, which Obsidian had never used before, so the company hired a modder who had helped out with ElderScrolls Oblivion. Bethesda gave Obsidian 18 months to work on the game, which is not a lot of time if you've seen other games with their development periods. It normally takes years to be able to accomplish what these guys were able to accomplish in 18 months. Many journalists who interviewed the developers were astonished because they had this team working around 40 to 50 hours a week, working a very tight schedule. The constricted development meant that many of the areas the game had needed to be cut in order to make deadlines. Fallout New Vegas was finally announced in April of 2009, with the first trailer being shown in February 2010. Now, let's take a look at the release for the game, and I'm going to give a brief rundown of the plot as well. So, the plot for this game takes place in the year of 2281, 204 years after a devastating nuclear war between the United States and China, known as the Great War. You play as the Courier, who is tasked with delivering a platinum chip, which is a data storage device that can change the tide of the war in the Mojave. The Courier is then ambushed by a man named Benny, and he shoots him in the head and leaves him for dead. The Courier then wakes up because of the care of a Securitron named Victor and a doctor named Doc Mitchell. You wake up in the town of Sunshine Springs. You then depart to go after the man Benny, who has taken the package that you were supposed to deliver. You, the player, then end up in between the conflict between the NCR and the Legion, and Mr. House, who runs the casinos at the Vegas Strip. You find out that Mr. House survived the war between the US and China because of a life support chamber that he built, which allows him to live through the computers and all the Securitrons on the Vegas Strip. Mr. House built the chip as a way to be able to upgrade his army and protect the Vegas Strip before the Great War. But then the war started before the chip could be located and delivered. Once it is finally located, the courier was tasked to deliver it to Mr. House. Benny stole the chip so that he could use it to reprogram his Securitron Yes Man to be able to take over the casino. Now, in the game, there's multiple different ways that you can play out these scenarios, but regardless of what you do, it ends on the Hoover Dam. You, as the player, can choose what faction you want to play as. I won't reveal what each ending is, so you can play the game yourselves, but they're all very fun to play, and I highly suggest that you do, because you'll want to go back and play all of the endings just because of how much fun this game really is. Fallout New Vegas released in October 2010 for the Xbox 360, PC, and PlayStation 3, which included a ton of pre-order bonuses like weapons and outfits, with the collector's edition giving you a platinum chip as a poker chip, which is really cool if you play poker. The game sold roughly around 5 million copies and got almost $300 million in revenue, and by 2015 a research company stated that since its release the game has sold more than 115.5 million copies, which I can understand because it is such an amazing game. Probably one of my favorite games, if I'm going to be honest. The game released a ton of DLC afterwards, which in my opinion were just as great because it really gave the player the option to shake things up and have different experiences with the game. The reviews for this game are actually extremely positive, and it's still considered to be one of the best Fallout games in the franchise. There are a lot of people to this day who continue to play, and it's still considered to be one of the best Fallout games in the franchise. There are a lot of people to worlds that players can experience. Recently I heard about a Fallout game that would take place in New Mexico and London. So it's absolutely amazing how loved this game is universally. And I, for one, still go back and play this game every year to remember the good old days of being able to beat Benny to death with a baseball bat and steal his checkered suit afterwards. Besides for how loved this game is by fans, a lot of reviewers praise the direction with a lot of side quests because of how fun these side quests were to complete. Many say that they are better than the main story itself, which I can agree to that, partly. The game offers a lot of variety in which what faction you can join and how these factions affect the overall game and how the enemies will treat you out in the wasteland. My favorite thing about this game, and I know this is just a small detail, but I love the fact that you can change your outfit to blend in with other enemy factions. And I've never seen a game do this feature as well as New Vegas does. And that's just one of my favorite things about this game, is how well everything works together. The map itself gets so much praise because it encourages you to explore. There's actually a spot on the map that you can have your player run into aliens, and you can get an extremely powerful blaster for defeating the aliens. This game is just so incredible. I absolutely love it. And it was so good that it actually won the award for Best Role-Playing Game of the Year at the Joystick Awards. So, there's a lot of conflicting stories as to why Obsidian has never worked on another Fallout game with Bethesda. I'm going to discuss the possible reasons why people believe they haven't collaborated, but I'm not sure if these are right or not. This is just what I've seen from other people and their theories. I've read that there's a lot of people that believe that Bethesda resents Obsidian because of how many people enjoyed Fallout New Vegas over any of the other Fallout games that have released. It created a lot of bad blood between the two companies. There's also a rumor that says there was a lawsuit because Bethesda refused to pay Obsidian the amount that they were contracted to pay them. I couldn't find any record of that besides for a tweet that says that they weren't given the bonus that they were promised for getting over 85 on Metacritic. This was signed into the contract when they agreed to work on the game, and that's extremely scummy because they do get royalty checks, but they definitely deserve that bonus for all of the hard work these guys put in within 18 months. because I mean, they made lightning in a bottle with this game. That's something you'll probably never see again, even if Bethesda tries to take the nostalgia bait road. You can also see that Todd Howard doesn't like to talk about New Vegas. He is often asked about working with them again, and I discussed this in my other video, but based on his responses every time he's asked, I doubt we'll ever see a Fallout New Vegas 2, which is so disappointing, man. You can tell that there is a lot of resentment, and it comes off so petty. It's just ignoring the fans that want to see another banger of a game. Imagine how much money they'd be able to make off of a Fallout New Vegas 2. Like, they would make so much money if they would just put their differences aside and work together. And it's not even Obsidian, it's Bethesda that doesn't want to work with Obsidian, because Obsidian has said that they were willing to work on another Fallout game. So here's the reason why you should play this in 2024. I mean, besides for looking at this beautiful game, there's just such a level of immersion and the fun of being able to play with different characters and choose different dialogue options to get your own hilarious outcomes. Not only that, but the story and the level design and the characters are extremely unique, and it was built to give you a good time. New Vegas in 2024 is very difficult to play on PC depending on what your build is, and because it's an old game. The fact that the game hasn't had any kind of developer support probably plays a huge role in it, but you can still find hot fixes from modders. You can try out all the fun mods people have created for the game too, which I wish I could do that on console. Console is still probably the best way to play this game. There aren't really a ton of bugs besides for the occasional crash here and there, but this game is still worth playing no matter how many times you play it. The game will give you such a fun and enjoyable experience and might even give you a laugh or two. You can tell that the developers really put their heart and soul into this game when they made it, and it's something that'll be played for years and years from now. This game has had such a lasting impact. I mean, even though I doubt we'll see another Fallout game made by Obsidian, I do want to say that this game is just such a cult classic, man. It has spawned memes, and it recently has become very popular again on TikTok and YouTube because of the Fallout TV series that was released on Amazon Prime. Personally, I love this game more than any of the other Fallout games I've played. Through researching this game, I understand why. It's because Obsidian were the people who were originally a part of the team that worked and created the game. So they know how they wanted the story to go and where they wanted it to go. And Bethesda has just been taking all of the glory and has kind of brainwashed people into thinking that they were the creative minds behind the franchise. Which the only thing I can really give Bethesda credit for is that if they hadn't bought the franchise, Fallout might not be the staple in our culture as it is today. So we have to give them some credit for that. I have said before, I wish that we could see a Fallout New Vegas 2 instead of a Fallout 5, because the story in New Vegas just felt so well written, along with all the character backgrounds. I wish Bethesda would just drop the bullshit and collaborate on another game. We've seen them give other companies the permission to work on their games, like ElderScrolls Online was created by ZeniMax Online Studios, and it's still wildly successful. Why does Todd Howard insist on making people wait for new games when it's possible to work with other companies and get them in the hands of players sooner rather than later? Instead, we'll have to wait another decade before we get to see any new games from our favorite franchises, and I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's fair to the fans who continuously pay money for these games. Anyways, that's all I really have for you guys. I hope I got everything right. It really sets a bad image, and I don't want people to think that I don't care about what I work on, because I am very passionate about this, and I just want to make sure everything is as accurate as possible. I want to thank you guys for watching me and giving me the support and pushing me to do better. Once again, I want to thank you all for watching, and also I just want to say, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel or give my video a like or watch another video, because that's how the algorithm works on YouTube. And if you enjoyed this content, and maybe it'll recommend it to somebody else who does too. Thanks again, guys, for watching, and have a good night.